Politically recruited teachers, it should be staffed through merit, and I will say this, that in this tenure, you will see that every single provincial government and the Federation, Pakistan People's Party government sitting here, and the federal government has made a very, very strong effort, and there have been changes in the recruitment policies. And you will see merit-based recruitment and focus on women teachers, female teachers. And thirdly, this needs a broad-based coalition of civil society, media people, professional educators, the government, international agencies. Everybody needs to work together, so we are working towards the same goal. I think that one of the main questions that we say, why have we not achieved it? I seriously think that Pakistan has the resources, it can put the resources. I think that the awareness, as I mentioned earlier, and the political awareness in particular, that will make everyone realize how serious the education emergency is. So information, communication, education and awareness about education and the provision of education is important.
This Prime Minister declared this 2011 as education year and also education emergency this year. We were very much optimistic, and we appreciate your efforts also, that put your efforts. But we didn't see, we were very much hopeful that now the budget is going to go at least 4%. Means we really want to know, that our readers and our viewer also, that who are the people really when it comes to the budgeting, and then they play their role, and they really don't let, because you put your efforts, there was a good effort. Why only cut?
I think this is a very important question that you've asked, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to answer it. You see, after the 18th Amendment, the responsibility has gone to the provinces. Now, what has the Federation done? What it has done was that in the National Finance Commission award, it transferred much larger resources to the provinces than ever in the history of Pakistan, right? So now the provinces are getting 57.5% of the federal revenue, of the total resources of the country of Pakistan. There has been a vertical and a horizontal transfer of resources from the federal government to the provinces. This huge increase from about 47% to 57.5% has allowed the provinces to increase their education budgets. Your own newspaper has highlighted very rightly that Balochistan has never received the level of resources that it has today. Never in the history of Balochistan. Development funding has gone to Balochistan at the level that it has today. And the education budget of Balochistan has increased by 11%. So you can see that there is an increase. Now, to say that we have not increased it at the federation level, I think what we have to say is that we have increased it at the provinces. The provincial budgets, and the exercise on the provincial budgets is being done just now by the Education Task Force. And in a few days, in fact, we already have the data, and I can share it with you, that the typical pattern of the provinces has been that of all their expenditure, let us say that a province spends 100 rupees altogether. I'm giving an example. Of that 100 rupees, all the provinces were spending between 22 to 25 rupees on education. So almost a quarter of all expenditure in the provinces was going to education. As a percentage of GDP, the provinces don't have the GDP calculation, it's a national calculation. As a percentage of GDP, education was low. But now with the transfer to the provinces, and we hope that the provinces, with this additional funding that they're getting in the National Finance Commission award, we hope that they will continue to increase their budgets. And from 20 to 25% expenditure, they will take it to 30 and 35% expenditure. In some of the countries in our own region, as you know, the expenditure of the local governments is between 30 to 40% even on education. We are very hopeful that with this major shift from federation to province of jurisdiction, responsibilities and functions, and a major shift of resources, that Pakistan is much better placed. Now media and people have to take up these issues. The Education Task Force has taken these issues up, and we think that we are seeing some good response on this. You are seeing a very strong education sector reform program in KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and very good and very strong education sector plan in Punjab. In Sindh also, they are developing their sector plan. They have not finalized it yet. In Balochistan, the Education Task Force is working very closely with the Balochistan government on their request. In fact, my own effort and time and energy in the last many months, 8-10 months almost now, has been focused on Balochistan. The first 1 year was focused on Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Sindh, and now it is on Balochistan. So we think that there is an opportunity for us to make some changes.
Okay, and after devolution, what's the role of Education Task Force?
Well, it has changed.
Emergency.
Yes, I think the education emergency report that we published was, of course, it has nothing to do with the devolution per se, because it was about the education sector and it was an informational report. Our role has changed to this extent that if a province asks us to come and work with them, because we are professionals that sit, education experts that sit on the task force. So like I said earlier, Balochistan has asked us and we are going and working with them. That now, we otherwise the Education Task Force used to, because education was still part of the federal government's responsibility and jurisdiction prior to the 18th Amendment. But after the 18th Amendment, it is the provincial responsibility. So when the province asks us to come and work with them on certain things, then we go and work with them. And Sindh has asked us, and we've been working with the government of Sindh. But now, as I said, for the last 10 months, our main focus has been primarily with Balochistan and, of course, with the federal areas.
Shall I say a final question?
Yes, yes.
Second final.
Okay.
That there is a common criticism or the opinion that government is doing whatever that can be done, means with the management, the problems also there. The criticism is on the NGO sector, and that the donor money is coming in. Means they're pumping money, they're saying that it's not really making a difference, and then means that goes, I don't know where they leak, they're saying that it leaks somewhere and it doesn't go to the really the needy people for whom the money has come. How do you see?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Any government or any country or any donor agency that gives any funding to an organization does not give it blindly. They are not throwing their money away. They are very careful. They select the organizations very carefully. They scrutinize them very carefully. They make sure that their programs fit into the overall country strategy. They visit their programs. They do audits. They do field visits. They monitor them. If you were a foreign country, if you were Germany or France or Japan or China or UK or USA, and you would not just write millions of dollars of checks to somebody and say that you can just do what you want. It doesn't work like that. I think there's a misperception. I would say this, that the vast majority of civil society organizations do not depend on donor financing. I want to make this clear, because there was a study which was conducted when I was heading the Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, and we did a detailed study, and it is the only study on the NGO sector with regard to where they get their funding from. And that study categorically showed that about 86 to 88% of all funding for Pakistani organizations came from Pakistani donors, individuals who made philanthropy, zakat contributions, companies, Pakistani companies, multinational companies, but their own contributions and the services that they provided. Only 6% came from government and only 6% came from international agencies. Now it is time for us to do another study, but those figures are reasonably valid, even if you change them a little bit. Instead of 6%, maybe 8%, maybe 10% is coming from the donors, not more than that. Yes, you see that much more, because usually that money goes to organizations that are quite prominent. So money is never given without any monitoring and without validation and verification and without accountability. It is possible, and I know it does happen, that a few NGOs take advantage of the system and sometimes manage to get money and funding, and they spend it more on their offices and their big salaries, etc. And after some time they do get exposed. You know, there are good businesses and bad businesses. There are good government officers and bad government officers. There are good NGOs and there are bad or poor performing NGOs. So in the same way. But I think that this is a misperception, and the non-governmental sector, which is the civil society sector, actually does a lot of excellent work, work that the government could not do. They go into the communities, they often belong to the communities, especially let us say in the northern areas. The Akhan Rural Support Program showed that. The large rural support programs, many other organizations. There are organizations which women have formed in the remote parts of Pakistan. They are also doing excellent work. They provide literacy, vocational training, health, population services, community infrastructure services. And so I believe that the non-governmental sector is misunderstood, that there is suspicion and skepticism which is not well founded, and that we really need to have a better understanding and we need to recognize the work that they do.
शहनाज वज़ीर साहब बहुत शुक्रिया. हमारे पास बहुत से क्वेश्चन है लेकिन हम unfortunately time बहुत कम है. Finally, if you want to add something or you want to give some special message to our readers or viewers.
Yes, I would like very much first of all to thank you and to appreciate and recognize and congratulate the Education Watch. I think it is the only paper of its kind, and you are obviously very committed young people behind it, and you have put your time, your energy, your effort, your financial resources, your intellect, your passion, your commitment behind this. As an educationist, I am very pleased to see this, and also to know that you have quite a wide circulation, that you do full coverage, that you have a good website, and that you highlight the information and issues around education, where all the good things are happening and where also the problems lie. You have to do both. You have to show the challenges that still remain, but you also have to show where people are actually making a difference. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me to meet you, and I hope that with the Education Task Force continuing to do its work in the provinces, at the request of the provinces, that we can also interact with you, because we are also hoping to launch a media campaign, which will be, I don't like to call it a media campaign, but I would say an advocacy campaign for strengthening and supporting education.
Thank you very much.